Hey guys, good evening everyone. Thank you so much for hopping on. I see people are just starting to get on. Welcome. Thank you so much, Dominic. Appreciate the comment. Welcome to my living room, everyone. Sunday evenings. I typically do not do Sunday evenings, but it seemed appropriate. I hope this worked well for everyone. I know 8 p.m. is a little late for people on the Eastern time zone, but thank you guys for hopping on with me. I sure appreciate it. Sexy Mama B, what a username you have. If I dare give myself a username like that, my children would completely kill me. They would, oh, Mom, seriously. My kids keep me humble. I don't know about the rest of you guys out there, but my kids keep me very humble all the time. If I ever think I look good in something, they're going to let me know. What is that? What are you wearing? Or what'd you do to your face? Kids keep us humble, right? Good evening, guys. Thank you for hopping on. So tonight, everybody, we are going to be talking about serenity. You guys know that this is such a topic that is so near and dear to my heart. I've got a lot of stuff to go over tonight with everybody. I know a lot of you actually originally started following me because of Serenity Dennard. And, you know, I just want to remind people that this all really started because of Serenity. I was originally posting specifically about Serenity being missing, and that's where this page really was birthed from. It ended up venturing into other things, but I've always said that Serenity is the reason. And I've also said that I will cover her as long as she is missing. If somebody sent me a private message the other day and said that it seems like I'm obsessed with this case. And what I would say to that is that the media, specific media sources like the Rapid City Journal and our local media, when they were busy trying to not talk about Serenity disappearing and the circumstances around it, and I continued to talk about it, the way I then became framed was a woman obsessed over this issue to make me look like I'm crazy or just too overly involved in something that was none of my business, and I really don't care. So, but I am aware that I've been. Okay, I think I lost my internet for a second there. Okay, I think I got it back. So sorry about that. I think my internet went down for a second. I am not sorry about the fact that I am obsessed over the Serenity case, and I hope that a lot of you are obsessed about it as well, because really it needs more coverage, and the way it's been handled is going to just blow your mind. So I'm going to talk about some stuff tonight, guys, that I've never talked about, and I have had actual anxiety about this tonight. I have had anxiety because of the fallout I've had in my old local community, which is very connected and everybody's related and knows each other. And you don't want to make people mad, because if you do, it affects you over here. And I have had a lot of ramifications professionally and personally, people that dislike me in the community very much so, because everybody's connected. And so some of the people I'm going to talk about tonight that are local to me, I'm not going to be making any friends, but I've already done what I felt needed to be done, but I am going to get more into it than I usually do. So I want to start out with just a really quick reminder of the nuts and bolts of Serenity's case. And I feel like the best way to do it is by sharing this. So please take a moment. And let's watch this together. I think that video sums up the story, which is why I shared that with you guys. I'm sure some of you have already seen it, but it really puts, causes me to get goosebumps that stand up on me as I watch it. And I think as I go through some of the stories tonight, you're going to really be blown away even more. I know for a fact I'm going to share some things tonight that you guys do not know. So I'm going to start with a little bit. I'm going to kind of jump into just a little bit Serenity. Like I said in the video, missing since February 3rd, 2019, disappeared from Rockerville, South Dakota, which is just right outside of Rapid City. It's very close. But there's some really sort of interesting players involved in this case, and I want to update you guys on all of them, is talk about what's happened to some of them. So Serenity's biological mom, Rihanna, you all know that I reached out to Rihanna in prison. She was incarcerated at the time that Serenity disappeared, and I went and visited her. That was sort of the beginning of a relationship we had. People often send me messages, how is Rihanna doing? What's the latest on her? What I will say is that she is still out of prison. She is still free, and that's great. But Rihanna continues to struggle with a variety of things. You know, she's been very open and honest and transparent about her past, her struggles with addiction. Those things continue to be difficult for Rihanna. She has not been able to overcome these things. I was made aware that she just recently was in the hospital for a pretty extensive medical issue of sepsis, very dangerous, and she could have died from that. So she's had some medical conditions, and I think Rihanna is just continuing to struggle. She carries a lot of guilt, a lot of pain over what's happened. So please continue to think about Rihanna. Her life has been impacted greatly by addiction, as well as what's happened to Serenity and what she carries with her over that. So please do not forget her. I have not of late spoken with her, but I have spoken with family members that do talk to her regularly, and have shared with me where she's at and things like that. But when I first got to know her, I went and met her at the women's prison. You guys can see she's wearing a prison outfit in the picture that I snapped of her that day. And there was an interesting backstory to that caught some press, but not a lot of press, which is I had to ask permission to go and meet her. I didn't just walk into the prison. I was at that time a sitting senator, and I actually got a hold of the Department of Corrections and asked for permission to come in and meet Rihanna and talk to her about Serenity, who had just recently disappeared at that time. I received permission. I went to the prison. When I got to the prison, I said to one of the person that was supervising us, will you allow me to interview her and record it? And the person that was watching us, we were in a room with a glass window. They were watching us, said, sure, no problem. I had walked in with my purse, with my phone, with everything. I had not had anything taken from me when I walked in, because of, I think, my role at that time as a sitting senator asking to meet with her. And so I walk in with all my stuff. I say, hey, can I interview her? They say, no problem. I interview Rihanna. I post the interview. It's a very emotional interview. It is on my YouTube page. Months go by, and all of a sudden I get a call from the Rapid City Journal, aka Rapid City Journal, that says, how do you feel about receiving a lifetime ban for basically smuggling in video equipment and recording Rihanna without permission? And I went, what? I mean, that's how I found out that was what was being said. I had no idea that's what was being said. No one had called me. No one had sent me a letter. I mean, I had interviewed her. I'd gotten permission, and boom, next thing you know, I'm getting asked by the Journal why I did this illegally and being informed of a lifetime ban. Now, the person who did that, the person who had made that decision, was the Secretary of the Department of Corrections. This is him. His name is Mike Leadholt. Okay. He is the one that had decided he was giving me a lifetime ban after interviewing Rihanna. And he then lied to the media and said that I did not have permission to do that interview, which blew me away because I was saying, wait a minute, I literally had the recording equipment right on the table with one person sitting there watching the interview. They were watching me do it. And of course, he says, well, we don't have any recording of that. We don't have it documented. You received permission. And I went, but I mean, I literally walked over and said, do I have permission? And your person said yes, and then watched me do it. So here's what's amazing. After this happens, July 2021, he is placed on administrative leave and then retires. You're going to hear a lot of that. He retires over workplace conditions and things that were happening at the prison that was kept extremely hush-hush, extremely. Very few people are aware of what really happened there that led to him, Leadholt, thank you, led to him retiring over workplace conditions. But I found it fascinating because he had lied 100% about the fact that I had without permission, illegally recorded this thing. I mean, it would have been impossible for me to do that. They were watching me do it. But so there he goes, right? So now he's gone. The list goes on and on. Okay, so now we have our sheriff, Sheriff Tome, our Pennington County Sheriff. He has been very involved in the case. He does happen to be like the nicest guy you will ever meet. He's just got a real soft-spoken demeanor. I've met him many times, but you have to remember that I have been very skeptical of what happened, mostly because of the fact that so long was waited. The video said almost 2 hours. It was, I believe, 1 hour and 41 minutes till the police were called. Then it was another 20 or 30 minutes till they showed up. And then they said because of the storm, they couldn't really look. And I was very critical of that. He is about to retire, but he's connected to everybody involved in this. And he has not been appreciative of my coverage of the case. The sheriff has made clear under numerous circumstances that I have hurt the case by talking about it and things like that. So let's go to the next guy we got here in the mix. We got Bill Colson. Okay, Bill Colson was the executive director of the Black Hills Children's Home when Serenity disappeared. So Serenity disappears in February. December 2019, Bill Colson resigns. Bill Colson and our sheriff, seen in this picture together, extremely close. These are the people that are sort of the bigwigs in town that everybody knows. They're very connected. They all know each other, and they have each other's backs on everything. They are pretty much, you know, the sheriff's department was not going to criticize Children's Home, and the Children's Home was never going to be critical of our sheriff's department because these people are extremely close and connected in this community to each other. So he retires, and the person that takes over is the Rapid City Chief of Police. Takes over. He is now the director of Children's Home Society. So you see again, now we have our sheriff, our sheriff that is about to retire, friends with Colson, the director, very close with the chief of police, because if you think about, you've got the chief of police and the sheriff of the county. These guys are, when there are any type of anything in the public with law enforcement, these guys are it together. They are the dynamic duo together. Well, he has now left to take over running Children's Home Society. The chief of police. So this guy, Carl Jageris is his name, is now the new head of Children's Home Society. Now, here we go. Here we go, guys. This is just... Okay, we have very famous man in South Dakota, T. Denny Sanford, extremely known in South Dakota. A lot of people call Sioux Falls Sanford Falls because he is the richest man in South Dakota. You have Sanford, the hospital, you have the arena there, the events arena. I mean, everything is Denny Sanford, richest man in South Dakota, net worth estimated at $1.3 billion. January of 2019, 1 month before Serenity Dennard disappears, donates to the Children's Home Society $55 million, guys, $55 million. And then what comes out after that? It comes out that he has been identified as an implicated individual in a criminal investigation for child pornography in South Dakota. Now, it's very important to know that he has not been prosecuted. He is not had formal charges brought against him. But his team, his legal team worked extremely hard to keep this under wraps, extremely. I believe it ended up going before the South Dakota Supreme Court because the media was trying to find out this information. And the media even said that they had the information, but that because they could not get it verified, they were afraid to release the information. And so this is, I mean, this is so mind-blowing to me. This has had no coverage that this man, the richest man in South Dakota, 1 month before Serenity disappears, gives $55 million to them and then ends up an implicated individual in a child pornography ring. So we will see what happens. Like I said, he has not been prosecuted, but it's very convoluted. These people are all connected. All these people know each other. South Dakota is a small state, and these people, every one of these guys, all know each other and operate within a circle of influence in our state because they're kind of the big fish in our state. So as I talk about some of the circumstances of this case, you know, I've always said there's a few things that I've just never really been able to get over, that I've never been able to completely and totally figure out 100%, that I've said, how in the world this happened? Undoubtedly, the one that I've already talked about is 1 hour and 41 minutes. Till the police were called. Unbelievable. Hour and 41 minutes, a very long time, with a snowstorm coming, that nothing was done. Keep in mind, Children's Home Society is an organization with lots of money, lots of donations. I mean, just Denny Sanford gave them $55 million. They have a lot of money, and yet they had cameras not working, which is amazing because when I illegally interviewed Rihanna and I said, well, I walked right over on camera and asked for permission, the cameras weren't working there either. That's actually what the secretary, who was later retired for what was happening, actually said to me, was that the cameras weren't working, so they couldn't verify that I had ever asked. Patterns? So no cameras working at the Children's Home Society. The CBs are on different channels, is what they say it happened. And this detail alone, it is the only case I have been able to find anywhere where volunteers that were local showed up and said, let us look. We have four-wheelers, we have horses, please, we know the area. The neighbors, they were turned away and told no, that they would not allow them to look. Now, this is amazing. Any other case I have been able to find, volunteers have been encouraged. People have said, yes, please, we need all hands on deck. Serenity's case has got to be the only case that I can find where volunteers were told, no, we don't want you. We got this under control ourselves. But did you? Did you have it under control? Because she has not been found. I would think that all hands on deck would be really important. I had neighbors get a hold of me that said, I hiked this area all the time with my dogs. I hunted this area. I knew the area well, and they told me I was not allowed to participate in the search. They sent me home. Very unusual to me. I had something happen about a week or two ago, maybe 10 days ago. I had somebody that worked at Children's Home call me anonymously to talk to me about the day that Serenity disappeared. This is the first time I've had this happen. I believe most of the employees that worked there at that time have been afraid to come forward and talk. They're afraid that their identities will be revealed. They're afraid that they could lose their jobs. There's been a lot of, I think, just fear from the employees. So it took years for somebody to call me and go, I was working there that day and I need to tell you some things. So part of what was amazing was this person that called me was able to verify many of the facts that I've talked about for a long time. For example, that the dog sniffed Serenity to the cattle guard. Because of the fact that this has been said over and over again. This person was working there that day. They said that they watched those dogs go from the gym to that cattle guard, back to the gym, back to the cattle guard, over and over again. And how it was very clear watching those dogs that that was the trail that she had walked. And that really is the end of her scent. And what has made me crazy about that is that's the road. That to me is an indication of the fact that she was very likely picked up in a car, that her scent ended right there, that something happened at that spot, that all of a sudden her scent was gone. And yet for some reason, despite the fact that that is what the evidence has shown, and this employee was able to verify for me, the theory has all along been that she must have walked away and been eaten by a mountain lion somewhere in the mountains, that she just disappeared. Serenity's case is one of the only cases I can find of a missing child that has been blamed. You realize the media has talked about, as well as family members, not biological, but other family members have commented that she had a history of running away. She had a lot of behavioral problems. Now, this staff member that called me did verify that Serenity undoubtedly had some behavioral issues. She talked about the fact that Serenity frequently had problems with wetting her pants and urinating as a way to show that she was unhappy about something that had been done, a decision she didn't like. And all I could say when that staff said that to me is, this little girl was so traumatized. She lost her biological family. She gets adopted. Then the adopted family gives her back and takes her back because of the fact that she's having some behavioral issues. And she ends up wetting her pants and having some behavioral issues. What child wouldn't? I mean, honestly, what child wouldn't? I cannot blame her for any of her behavioral issues. And I will never, ever, ever accept the fact that it was her own fault that this happened to her. And anybody that says that, I got a problem with, because no child should be blamed for the fact that they'd been through all that and that then they disappeared. This case also got complicated within our media for this reason. So you guys probably remember at one time there was a sighting of a girl in Las Vegas that looked similar to Serenity. I saw the pictures. I'm sure many of you have seen the pictures. A citizen saw this little girl and called the police and said, I see a child that looks like Serenity Dennard. I think somebody needs to come check this out. The child looks like her and is acting strangely. So the police go there, go to this business in Las Vegas, go and talk to this man, talk to this girl, and make sure to verify that it is not Serenity, which it evidently was not. That's what the police said, that it was not. The Rapid City Press did a story. And guess what the story was? The story was all about how that was bad that somebody called that tip in, because that really hurt the investigation when a tip came in that was a bad tip. They actually did a headline all talking about this page, talking about, because I had shared it and how it had hurt the case, how it had hurt the investigation. So what the South Dakota media is telling people is, if you think you see a missing child and you make a report and you're wrong, ooh, tisk, tisk, tisk. You don't want to be wrong because you might hurt the investigation. Really? And how about this? What if you're right? What if a citizen sees a child and calls in, and guess what? It is that child. The South Dakota media actually made the headline about how it had hurt the investigation by this tip being brought in, and how me publicizing it had hurt the investigation, how the sheriff's department came out and made a quote, hurt the investigation, that there was a bad tip that got called in. I would believe, and in any other case, if people call in and say, I see a child that reminds me of a missing child, the police are going to say, thank you so much. Thank you. You know what? You might be wrong, but you might be right. Not in South Dakota. In South Dakota, you get told, don't call in and hurt our investigation. We don't want to hear about that. No, Shh, 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 shh. Keep that quiet, okay? Just keep that to yourself. Only in South Dakota, guys. Only in South Dakota. So to all of you that follow this page, I just want to say, call it in. Call it in. I don't, you're going to be made to look like a bad guy if you're wrong. And if I share it, I'm going to be a bad guy for sharing it, because that's wrong, because it's really just better if we don't talk about it. But you know what? Call it in. You might be wrong, but you might be right. Please if you see someone that looks like, I don't care whether it's Serenity, Chance Engelbert, or any missing person, call it in. Says a lot about our media and our sheriff's department that their biggest concern was that it might have hurt the investigation, that the tip was not a good tip. So not too long after the sheriff's department had looked, they did announce that they had discontinued the search. There would no longer be a search. There were several searches that took place. To the best of my knowledge, as well as the family's knowledge, they are not looking for Serenity. If you call a tip in, you're probably going to get in trouble for doing that. So, I don't really know how you win on this situation, because they're not really searching anymore, and they don't want people to call tips in, is what the media locally put out. But in my mind, there is no evidence that backs up that she is deceased. There is no evidence that I'm aware of that says she's deceased. Not a shoe, not a jacket, not a bone, not a piece of hair, nothing. Nothing has ever been found. The only thing we know for sure is that the dog sniffed her to the cattle guard. We know that someone drove by and saw her standing at the cattle guard, but then later said that she was gone. That's what we know. In my opinion, from what I'm aware of, the best evidence lends to the fact that Serenity could still be alive. And I know her family holds out hope that that's true, and her family continues to believe. I bump into people all the time in the public that come up to me and say, I believe she's still alive someplace. And it warms my heart, because I just want to believe that too. So to those of you that come up to me and say, I think she's still alive, thank you so much. I want to believe that. Her biological mom, Rihanna, has repeatedly said that she believes that Serenity is still alive. There is zero evidence to say that she's not. And in my opinion, as long as there is no evidence of that, we assume that she's still alive, and that she is either being held somewhere, or that something has happened, that she has been taken someplace. I specifically became interested in the FLDS compound because of Serenity, because it was in the area, because there were secretive things going on there. And so I will be talking more about the FLDS compound, but tonight I want to talk about how it relates to Serenity, in that there were many people that said, they're looking for new blood, they're looking for new genes, they're trying to build their compound, they're trying to build. Well, Serenity would have blended right in. I have been to the compound repeatedly. I have chatted with people that were living there, that knew people there. And what I can tell you is that I have not found a single person at the FLDS compound that believes that Serenity was there. I have not found one person there that believes that she looks familiar, or they even saw a girl that reminded them of Serenity. So I am of the opinion that I personally feel comfortable saying that I do not believe that Serenity was at the compound. The people that I've talked to there even have talked about the fact that at the time Serenity disappeared, the numbers at the compound were actually down because they were starting to move people away to other areas, to other FLDS compounds at that time. And so the numbers were lower, which meant that people were more aware of who was there because the numbers were lower of the people living there. It sounds like, we're talking, less than a couple hundred people that were still there. So people were more aware of who was there. And there has not been anyone that has said, yes, I've seen that child, she looks familiar, or anything to that extent, nor have I been able to find any documentation verifying anything else. So I personally feel that I can rule that out. And that what it comes back to is that Serenity, I believe, is very likely still alive, but where is she? And that's what we don't know. People have asked me a little bit, so I'm just going to touch on, people have talked about, has there been a private investigator involved in this case? There has been. Money was raised that I was a part of with Brian and Darcy Gentry, specifically for a private investigator who was hired, who looked into the case. I am unaware of that private investigator finding any information that was really new or something that really pointed us completely in a different direction. And so I do believe that has been done, but that it has not been very fruitful, which is very unfortunate because that money that was raised, we had really hoped would maybe bring some new things to the case. And it does not appear that it has. So that's really unfortunate. I do not believe that a private investigator is any longer working on the case because they cost money. Brian and Darcy have moved to Sioux Falls and are no longer living in the Rapid City area. And as far as I know, nobody anymore is really looking. Do I think that the family still cares? Yes. You're aware, I had shared with you guys previously that Brian and Darcy had made a statement that there was a polygraph done. This is just something they've stated, and that Cassandra Dennard failed the polygraph. I've not been able to verify this. I have not seen this, nor has the biological family seen it. But that is an allegation that they made publicly on social media. It is a very interesting piece of information. Supposedly that was turned over to the authorities. What became of it, we don't really know. But one of the theories has been that it's possible that there was a prearranged meeting or something that happened. So that's something that I would love to learn more about and love to get to the bottom of. Brian and Darcy, if you're watching this, because I know you guys watch the page, I saw that Darcy made a comment the other day on the page. I'd love to see that evidence of that. I would love to be able to verify that that in fact happened, because that would really be pretty important. I also want to talk about, okay guys, so I kind of made an announcement. I was surprised by the reaction of the page. I have been working on for the last couple months, illustrating and making a children's book. My name is Serenity, about Serenity. It's a children's book illustrated for children, and it's all about Serenity. It's about her likes and what she does and what she's into. And it's just a light-hearted book about a very special little girl. I am figuring out what to do with that. I can definitely do it as an ebook or a Kindle book. Whether I want to have it printed, I have yet to decide. It's very expensive to print books, very expensive. And so I'm, and then they want you to order like a quantity of like 10,000 of them or something. So I am trying to get to the bottom of the best way for me to do this. It would be all about trying to just create awareness through all of you. by selling the book with a little bit about Serenity to help get her story out there. I think it's very important that those of us that care about her case continue to put her case out there. And I believe that this children's book is a way to do that in a way that's pretty benign. It's just a little children's book, but as you read it to your child or grandchild, you will know what it's about, and that it's about a very special little girl. And on the very back of the very back page, it does talk about Serenity being missing. So I'm hoping that it's a way to get the story out. I'm just trying to figure out the financial aspect of it, because I really cannot order like 10,000 books, and I can't pay $20 a book, which is what I was quoted on my original printing of them, is $20 a book, and I had to print thousands. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do this, but I will let you guys know right away. It's very, very important. So I'm just going to wrap it up, guys, by saying I hope that all of you have seen tonight, as I've gone through some of the players in this case. This is a very complicated case. There are a lot of people at the highest level involved in this. We've had a lot of people come and go that were a part of this, that are retired, that are gone. But the truth of the matter is that this affected at the highest level. There was an investigation done by the state of South Dakota, and what they came up with at the end was, you all need to have a plan in case this happens next time. That's what they came up with. You need to have a plan in case this happens next time, because they had no plan. If a child disappeared, they had no plan. So the state of South Dakota told them, you need to have a plan. Yeah, gee, you think? And that was the smackdown. That was the consequence, that they created a plan. The staff that did call me and talk about it did talk about how disorganized it was that day. And she actually said that the reason that a lot of people were not looking for Serenity was because they were getting ready for a football party. It was the Super Bowl the day she disappeared, and that the staff was busy setting up food and getting the Super Bowl party ready. So when a child disappeared, they went, I'm busy working on the Super Bowl party. Yeah, that's exactly what she said. So evidently, thank you, Lilia, for the comment. I will be talking more about this case, but for now, that's what I've got. Appreciate all of you guys. Please continue to share Serenity's story. Yes, I may be obsessed. I might be a psycho because I talk about her so much. She changed my life. I think about her every day. I never drive past a children's home and up in Rockerville that I do not think about her. I see little blonde girls and I think of Serenity everywhere I go. She's valuable. She's important. I don't care if I'm considered I'm obsessed. Join me in my obsession to care about this little girl. And I pray that someday she is brought home to her family that loves her and misses her, and that there can be some healing and closure for everyone involved, including Rihanna. So, all right, guys, have a good evening.